We've heard today a lot of discussions and over the last year, I think, of several factors that have attributed to the record high grain prices over the last year. I think rather than going through all those again, I think the most significant factor, I think, is just then the trend of demand of consumption outpacing production and for grains and major food commodities. As you can see here, this is a chart of ending stocks for corn, rice, soybeans, and wheat back to 1960, and the stocks-to-use ratio of those combined commodities. And as you can see, this in last year, 2007, into this marketing year of May 31st, 2008, it's been the tightest combined stocks-to-use ratio for these commodities in 33 years. Looking more towards wheat, I'll focus on wheat today. For wheat, historically low, tightest stocks-to-use ratio for wheat that we've had dating back to the USDA's data in the 1960s. So very volatile times. With this tight stocks-to-use ratio, stocks that were down last year in the major exporters, a small change, or even the perception of a change in production led to volatile swings in the market. Looking at world-ending stocks and price, this is taking 5 major exporters, the rest of the world, and using a marketing year average for price of hard red winter wheat, 11% protein, FOB the Gulf. As you can see here, 2007, 2008, the marketing year we just finished, stocks were about 116 million metric tons ending stocks, world ending stocks, which the lowest they've been in 30 years. And as you can see, the strong correlation with price and ending stocks. Low ending stocks figure, we had record high prices for wheat. Now taking a look at just the world ending stocks of the 5 major exporters in price, there's a stronger correlation here. If you look at the ending stocks last year again here of the 5 major exporters, 28 million metric tons, which is the lowest in history of the 5 major exporters. There's a stronger correlation between the ending stocks of the 5 major exporters and prices. As you can see, the years where ending stocks of the 5 major exporters have been below 40 million metric tons has been bullish for wheat prices. Back here, last time we had high prices, $211 a ton, 36 million metric tons ending stocks of the 5 major exporters. So just kind of a indicator, a factor to keep an eye on as we move through this new marketing year, and productions and ending stocks has changed as we go through the year. So with the record higher prices, what did farmers plant? I think we all know that. Wheat, farmers around the world responded to the higher prices and increased global plantings of wheat. USDA's projections for global plantings are just around 224 million hectares, which is the highest forecasted area in 10 years. Australia, China, the EU, India, Kazakhstan, Russia, Ukraine, and the US are all expected to have the highest harvested area in the last 5 years. Here you can see as the farmers increase plantings, record production. This year production 671 million metric tons, up 60 million metric tons from last year. Also setting a new record is use, up 28 million metric tons to 650 million metric tons this year. As we talked about that drawdown in worlding stocks, and we heard the other presenters talk about that today, of wheat and other commodities, you can see here 7 out of the last 10 years, world use has outpaced production. So drawing down those world supplies of wheat down to the very tight historical levels where we're at today. Taking a look at the projected balance sheet for U.S. wheat, or for world wheat supply and demand. You can see very tight coming into the year, again with tightest world stocks in 30 years, 115 million metric tons. Increase of production up, and supplies up 48 million metric tons compared to last year. Trade projected to be up 4 million metric tons over last year. And use, as I mentioned, a new record for use, up 28 million metric tons. The increase in use isn't projected to come from food use. Food use is only up 5 million metric tons, but the projected increase for demand is on the feed side, up 23 million metric tons compared to last year. So with the increase in supply, increase in demand, there is a mild stocks building for wheat. World wheat projected ending stocks expected to be 136 million metric tons, which is up from last year, and is actually the first year the world has built stocks of wheat in 4 years. But keep in mind, this, as I mentioned, the stocks-to-use ratio last year was the lowest we've had in history. Even though production is up 60 million metric tons, the stocks-to-use ratio is still historically tight. And ending stocks at 136 million metric tons is still 30 million metric tons below the 10-year average for ending stocks. So some relief, I think, with the increase in production, but still we're tight historically. Here we can see graphically in the world wheat situation. As you can see here, for beginning stocks, draw down over the year as the demand, world wheat demand outpaced production, drawing down the ending stocks to the 30-year low. And we do, USDA does project an increase of 136 million metric tons. Taking a look at the situation of the top 5 exporters, and the top 5 exporters being the United States, Canada, Australia, Argentina, and the EU. Projection of the 5 major exporters up 50 million metric tons over last year. Trade, exports up about 5% versus last year. Increased production, more competition among the 5 major exporters. Again, coming down, drawing down stocks, beginning stocks of this year, very tight levels, historically tight levels, half of what they were 2 years ago. And ending stocks for next year, 2009, expected to build, but still very tight levels. Saying this because I know everybody wants to be bearish wheat, but still historically tight levels for supplies. Taking a look at the Australia situation, as some of you are familiar with, the previous 2 years, the Australian wheat production was hit by the severe droughts. This year expected to rebound. Farmers in Australia planted record plantings of wheat, had good rain at plantings. USDA has Australia production at 25 million metric tons. I think currently this is the highest projection for Australia at this time. I think ABARE, forecaster in Australia, is closer to 23, 23.7. Some private forecasters at 22 million tons. So still, crops not made yet. They do need some moisture. I'll get to that in a sec. For exports, exports up, projected up 15 million metric tons. And ending stocks after they've drawn down because of the 2 years of droughts and they had for their production. Ending stocks were drawn down. This year with the bigger stocks, they'll increase that. But the big question in Australia is, has Australia received enough rain to produce 23 or 25 million metric tons? Here I put these, it might be hard to see in the back, but I put these charts together. This is Australian rainfall frequencies. This is taking a look at June 1, a 3-month period, June 1 through August 31st of 2008, versus the same period last year.